all glory, all praises to Yahweh and his son, Yahweh Shai. We come to you, Father, as humbly as we know how. We want to thank you for bringing us together, for us gathering here today. We thank you for each and every one of us to understand the truth and to understand your glory, Father. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those that trespass against us. Lead us not to temptation. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and forever. Hallelujah!
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 All praise. Today, well, last night, you guys, we started the Feast of Dedication. That was the start of our Feast of Dedications. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over some things with the Feast of Dedications. Now, we know that the Jewish people call this day Hanukkah, okay? It's called Hanukkah. Now, Hanukkah, for them, and I wrote down some little quick notelets about their Hanukkah, because what they do is they talk about a time when there was a lamp. Hallelujah. Yeah. It was a time when there was a lamp that burned, and this is what they do. A lamp that burned that had 1 day's worth of oil in it, right? And a lamp was supposed to burn for 1 day, but they say that God blessed the lamp to burn for 8 days instead of 1 day, right? And so they use that to commemorate Hanukkah. And I'm gonna read a little bit about some of this, okay? About Hanukkah, okay? It says Hanukkah is a celebration of the deliverance of his people Israel, of this people Israel. Now this is how they parted, right? It says the deliverance of this people Israel. It says the family of the Maccabees rose up against the Greeks, expelling or running them out of the temple when they were roasting pigs and worshiping idols, meaning Zeus. Now this is what really was going on. They burned the lamp that only had 1 day's of oil in it for 8 days, and then boom, that's it. End of story. Turn the page. That's their version. Now what we're gonna do today is we're gonna read what really happened, and we're gonna read why we really celebrate the Feast of Dedications, and we're gonna read why they could never ever celebrate the Feast of Dedications, because it involves a group of people from Idumea, some Idumeans, or some Greeks, or some white folks, fighting against our people, trying to put us into subjection. But before we do that, we're going to go to Exodus chapter 25, and we're going to go from 25 to 31, because they have the menorah, right? We wear this menorah on our shirt, right? And this is part of what it is. We wear this menorah. Now, our menorah is as described in the Bible. It's got 6 trenches, meaning it's got 3 sides that flare out on each side, 1 in the middle, right? They have 4 on each side, right? So they have a 9 candlestick menorah, we have a 7 candlestick menorah. So before we go any further, let's get that. Let's just read that real quick to get the understanding of why we wear the menorah and who ordained it. The Most High told Moses to make this menorah, and he gave him the dimensions and he showed him how to make it. So we don't get to supersede that. We don't say, well, I want to add some trenches to it. So let's just see in Exodus chapter 25 and we're going to start at verse 31. It says the golden candlestick. It says, and thou shalt make a golden candlestick of pure gold, of beaten work shall the candlestick be made, with his shaft and his branches, his bowls, his knops, and his flowers shall be of the same. Now it's finished giving you the dimensions. And 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it. 3 out of one side, and 3 branches out of the other side. 3 bowls made like unto almonds. So it's talking about the top of the candlestick. And a knot and a flower in the branch, and 3 bowls made like almonds in the other branch, with a knot and a flower. So in the 6 branches that come out of the candlestick, and in the candlestick shall be 4 bowls made like unto almonds, with the knops and with flowers. And there shall be a knot under 2 branches of the same, and a knot under 2 branches of the same, and a knot under 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches that proceed out of the candlestick. Their knops and their branches shall be of the same. All it shall be one beaten work of pure gold. You see that? So he's just telling him how to make it, him the dimensions of it. Verse 37, and thou shalt make 7 lamps thereof, and they shall light the lamps thereof, that they shall give light over against it, and the tongues thereof, and the snuff shield dishes thereof shall be of pure gold, and a talent of pure gold shall he make it with all these vessels. And look that thou make them after their pattern, which was shown to thee of the mount. So he's giving him explicit instructions. Why is this important? I want you to precept this and go straight to Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 5 real quick. Because the Most High, I'm gonna show y'all something. The Most High doesn't play. When he gives instruction, the reason why we have to reverence Moses and make sure we give him honor as our brother, because the Most High had explicit instructions, and he said, the way I'm telling you to do it, that's what I want done. And he wasn't playing. So a lot of times people that play with him often get, they get done in. But Moses was very vigilant. This is chapter 8 and verse 5 of the book of Hebrews, and it reads, who served unto the example and shadow of heavenly things, as Moses. So Moses was the example. Now watch this. Was admonished of Yahweh when he was about to make the tabernacle, for see, said he, that thou make all things according to the pattern shown to thee in the mount. So this is the Most High telling him, I'm finna talk to you. This is like you talking to your son. Like, look, I'm finna talk to you. Now I want you to do exactly what I'm telling you to do. You know how people slow it down? Like when you're talking to your kid, you kind of slow your speech down and say, look, when we start this, I want you to make your bed up this way, right? So, because if it's not, what's gonna happen? Something gonna happen, right? So that was the Most High telling Moses, look, I want you to do it like this. So we got to keep that in mind when we're reading this and we have an understanding. We got to keep it in mind. That's why we wear the trench, the menorah, like the dimensions are in the Bible. So we don't have no 9 trench menorah, no 8. We have it like it's saying. But moving on, I want you guys to turn to John chapter 10 and verse 22. Now, the reason we're going to go here before we get into the story of the Feast of Dedications is because in the whole of the 66 books that we have in the KJV, it's only mentioned this one time of the Feast of Dedications. And so if you want to learn about the Feast of Dedication, what do you need? You need one of these that was taken out of a lot of books, right? A lot of Bibles. The 1611 has it, but we're going to read what chapter 10 and verse, I think it's 22 of the book of John says with Christ. This is the book of John chapter 10 and verse 22. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication. And it was winter. And Yahushua walked in the temple in Solomon's. Stop right there. You notice how I said it was a feast of dedication, and you notice how Jewish people say, oh no, this is Hanukkah. So where would you get Hanukkah from Feast of Dedications. Why would you change it up? And when we start reading the story, y'all are going to realize why they changed it up. You're going to realize why they don't want to celebrate this holiday as it is and as it is written. Now, y'all remember, every holiday that we celebrate, we're celebrating, like when we celebrate the Passover, what do we celebrate?
The Exodus of Egypt.
The what?
Coming out of Egypt.
Right. But what else are we celebrating? There's one more thing we're celebrating. Say that again. We're celebrating the destruction of the Egyptians and the Most High bringing us through the Red Sea, right? Mm-hmm. And he destroyed the Egyptians for the sake of who?
His children.
So what sense would it make for the Egyptians to say, let's celebrate Passover together? That makes sense?
Yeah, right.
Same thing when it comes to celebrating Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, the pilgrims are celebrating the submission or the destruction of the so-called Native Americans, our brothers and sisters. So why would you celebrate that holiday with them? Because it's like a mockery, right? So we're not to partake in that, but they not to partake in ours either, because this is our stuff. And a lot of these holidays, like the Battle of Nicanor, that's another battle that we won, right? That's commemorated. There are holidays in the Bible that are commemorated through what? Struggle, battle, overcoming. So that's why we celebrate these holidays. They're ordained. And we're going to get into it. We're going to get into reading and understanding these things, you know. And that's why I said, well, why come we just all can't get along? You know, God love everybody. We all should. Listen, these holidays got specific meanings. It doesn't make sense for everybody to celebrate everything together. And we're going to learn that today. I want you guys to open your apocryphals, and I want you guys to turn to the book of 1 Maccabees chapter 3, and we're going to start at verse 41. Chapter 3 and verse 41. And I started here because chapter 4 is where you read most of the story of the dedication, but we're going to start here for a specific reason. And it's very important, you guys. It's very important. This is the book of 1 Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 41. Now watch this. And it reads, and the merchants of the country hearing the fame of them, took silver and gold very much with servants and came unto the camp to buy the children of Israel for slaves. A power also of Syria and of the land of the Philistines joined themselves unto them. So it means that these other nations, they joined and they took us for slaves. Now this is before the fight even started, before the fight even got to its fullest point. And watch this, verse 42. Now when Judas and his brethren saw that miseries were multiplied, and that the forces did encamp themselves in their borders, for they knew how the king had given commandment to destroy the people and utterly abolish them. So what happened? There was a decree put forth in the land to say, you know what? We finna put them Israelites in slavery. We finna put y'all in submission. Y'all Negroes are doing too much. Because remember y'all, the reason for this fight, we the only people that got the one true God. Remember, the Greeks used to refer to us as the people who had the one true God. That's how they used to name it. Oh, you know those people, you know those niggas over there, you know the ones with the one true God. Because they understood their gods to be idols. But they saying, you know what? There's a force that's fighting for these people. They understood that. And I'm not even talking about our people, but for some reason, we've lost that over time. We've lost the understanding that we are Israelites and we do serve the one true God. Let's keep moving. Verse 43. They said one to another, let us restore the decayed state of our people, and let us fight for our people and the sanctuary. You see how much togetherness these people had? Verse 44, then was the congregation gathered together that they might be ready for battle, and that they might pray and ask mercy and compassion So did they come together to pray, or did they pray by themselves? They came together as a people, right? Watch this. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness. There was none of her children that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down, and aliens kept the stronghold. What does that mean? When it says, and aliens kept the stronghold, what is that going into?
The heathens.
Exactly. The heathen, that's what it said, next sentence. The heathen had their habitation in that place, and joy was taken from Jacob, and the pipe with the harp ceased. So we used to always, y'all understand, we used to always play music. Music is a big part of us. It says the pipe and the harp ceased. So it was none of us there. Verse 46, wherefore the Israelites assembled themselves together and came to Mizpah over against Jerusalem. For in Mizpah was the place where they prayed aforetime in Israel. Meaning this is what they used before they got established in Israel. This place, Mizpah, was where they used to go and pray. So they had to go back to the place where they used to pray because our land at this time was taken over by the heathen, right? Verse 47. Then they fasted that day and put on sackcloth and cast ashes upon their heads and rent their clothes. Stop right there. Every time we used to fast at this time, we would put on meager or sackcloth, right? We would rip our clothes, put on meager clothes, we would put ashes on our head, and we would fast. But when you move to the New Testament, Christ in Matthew chapter 6, he said we don't do that, and we still fast, but we don't do it in this fashion. I'm gonna do a class on that part later. Verse 48. Now this is what the heathen does and what the heathen has continued to do today. I want y'all to pay close attention to verse 48. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint their likeness of their images. What does that sound like? Everybody's mama had that big white Bible. You open that big white Bible up, and what would you see pictures of in that big white Bible that's on your grandmama's shelf at your house? Because I know my grandmama had one. You see that? This is showing you right here that that's what they was doing way back then, and that was the mission that they was trying to do. We got to destroy these people. That was their mission. We got to make these people not know who they are. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the image of them. You see that? Verse 49. They brought also the priest's garments and the first fruits and the tithes and the Nazarites they stirred up, who had accomplished their days. Then cried they with a loud voice toward heaven, saying, what shall we do with these? And whether shall we carry them away? For thy sanctuary is trodden down and profane, and thy priests are in heaviness and brought low. And lo, the heathen are assembled together against us to destroy us. What things they imagine against us, thou knowest. So he's telling us that the heathen, they was put together to destroy us, to get us up out of there. They trying to utterly destroy us. It says, how shall we be able to stand against them, except thou, O Yahweh, be our help? So here's the thing, y'all. We knew to pray to the Most High. We knew to fast. That is our culture. We don't do that today. But these people knew exactly who they were. Y'all have to keep that in mind as you read this story. And I want y'all to compare it to what we do today. Because guess what? If we're going to get back to the Most High God, we got to come back to that, right? I want you to jump to chapter 4 and verse 1. It says, then took Gorgias 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night, to the end he might rush in unto the camp of the Jews and smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his guides. Verse 3. Now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed, and the valiant men with him, that he might smite the king's army, which was at Emmaus. So it's telling them, Judas got word that those cats was coming in, right? But the army, Judas, our brother's army, left the campsite because they already knew that them dudes was coming in, right? And watch this. I want you to jump to verse 5. Verse 5. It says, in the mean season came Gorgias by night into the camp of Judas, and when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains, for said he, these fellows flee from us. So now they got bold because they like, yeah, they scared of us, right? But as soon as it was day, Judas showed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords in their minds. So they just showed out, and they just came and they said, here we are. They made sure that the other army that was trying to get them saw them, but they was just chilling. It was like, and so, because most of the time we are armed up if there's an army, but they just said, here we are, and they seen them afar off, right? Verse 7. And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed, and compassed around about with horsemen, and these were expert of war. Then said Judas to the men that were with him, fear ye not their multitude, neither be ye afraid of their assault. So Judas is talking to our people, and he's telling them, look, don't be scared of these people. Don't be afraid of them. Remember how thy fathers were delivered in the Red Sea, when Pharaoh pursued them with an army. What is he talking about? What is he trying to call them to remember? So at this battle, he's telling them to remember this is the same thing we have to do. When we read this stuff, we got to remember where we come from. You got to constantly remind our people, say, man, remember who we are. Remember where we come from. Remember that we Israelites. Remember how valiant these men were, right? This is something we have to constantly do, y'all. Watch this. Verse. Now, therefore, let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Elohim will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy that host before our face this day. So all the heathen may know that there is one who delivered and saved Israel. So Judas was like, look, they're gonna have to know that we got the one true God. They're gonna have to know. Y'all gonna have to have faith, because that's what sustains us. Our faith is what gets us there, right? Mm-hmm. We're gonna keep moving. I want you to jump to verse 14. Verse 14. So they joined battle, and the heathen, being discomforted, fled into the plain. Howbeit all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword, for they pursued them into Gazra, and unto the plains of Idumea, and Azotus, and Jamia, so that there were slain of them upon a 3,000 men. Stop right there. When it says Idumea, do y'all know what that is? What is Idumea?
Another word for Edomites.
Yeah. So I want y'all to know exactly. It's going to show you guys exactly who they're fighting against. This is about to show you guys that these a bunch of white cats came and tried to take us over, and we're slaying them. right? And so I want you to jump to, we read 15. I want you to jump to verse 19 real quick. Verse 19. As Judas was yet speaking these words, there appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain. So as he was talking his brothers up and he was telling them to be, courageous and we're going to do this, do that, he looked up and he seen part of the army of those Edomites by the mountain, right? Who, when they perceived that the Jews had put their host to flight and were burning the tents, for the smoke that was seen declared what was done. So they did go into the camp. They did burn the tents. We're talking about us, what we've done to them right now, right? It says, therefore they perceived these things. They were sore afraid, and seeing the host of Judas in the plain ready to fight. And I want you guys to know something. When it says host, that's another word for army, right? That's an army or a battalion, okay? Verse 22. They fled everyone into the land of strangers. Then Judas returned to spoil the tents when they got much gold and silver and blue silk and purple of the sea and great riches. Stop right there. When we first started reading the story, remember they had spoiled Jerusalem, right? In chapter 3, verse 41, they had took our stuff. They had took our gold. They took all the stuff that we had. Now Judas is returning the favor. He's coming back. He went into their camp, killed a whole bunch of their men. They fled. Now he's taking the gold and the stuff that they had, right? Let's keep going. After this, they went home and sung a song of thanksgiving and praised the Elohim in heaven, because it was good, because his mercy endureth forever, because the Most High gave him victory this day. Thus, Israel had a great deliverance that day. I want you to jump to verse 28. The next year thereafter, following, Lysias gathered together 70,000 choice men of foot and 5,000 horsemen, that he might subdue them. Stop right there. When it says the next year that he had 70,000 choice men, what is that? What number is that? What is a score?
20 years.
20. Yes. He had 70,000. So how many men did he have? 70,000.
60.
20, 30, 40, 50, 60. 60,000. And then it says he had 60,000 footmen, and he said he had 5,000 horsemen. So he had 65,000 men the next year. So this battle took a while, right? To happen. It wasn't no one-day battle. He came back the next time, the Edomite cat, with 65,000 men. Now watch this. So it says, now watch this. So they came unto Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethshura, and Judas met them with 10,000 men. So you got 65,000 against how many do we have?
10,000.
We some bad niggas. We some bad niggas. We bad.
Whoa.
You see that? Because if anybody else was facing something like that, they'd be like, look, we can't win this war. But see, the Most High, he wants it to be like that, because he wants you to understand there's no way that you can win a war with 10,000 men and they got 65 if the Most High don't get involved. You see that? That's why we have to have faith, y'all. We have to have faith, because there's no way 10,000 men is supposed to be able to whoop those 65,000, bro. You can't convince me of that. Let's keep going. It's verse 30. It says, and when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who didst quill the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David, and givest the host of strangers unto the hand of Jonathan, the son of Saul, and his armor bearer. Stop right there. What is he doing? He's calling forth the past battles that the Most High delivered our people out of. Remember that? Because when you read in the Bible, Jonathan, the son of Saul, he had a battle the Most High brought him out of. David went through, the Bible said David had a lot of blood on his hands because David was a bad dude. So he's calling forth and bringing into remembrance the battles that we already won by fighting against the other nations, right? Let's keep going. Verse 31. Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen. Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction. Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving. So they joined battle, and there were slain of the host of Shi'yah about 5,000 men. Even before them, were they slain. Now, when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judah's soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly, he went into Antiochia and gathered together a company of strangers. And having made his army greater than it was, he proposed to come again unto Judas. So what happened? He seen that these cats, us, could fight. When you hear the word valiant, and you say you're a valiant warrior, that is a fearless warrior. That's somebody who knows how to fight. When he seen how good our brothers were, and he probably seen brothers on horses slicing up 2 and 3 guys at a time. And he said he seen how bad we were. Now he fled. Now he said, well, we're going to have to get a bigger army now to take these. So now you need an army just to take 10,000 men. You need an army bigger than 65,000 just to take these 10,000 men. That's showing you that the Most High is working in our favor, right? Let's keep going. Let's keep it moving. It says, then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. So when they subdued the enemies, he said, let us go and cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. Remember that, because they took it back, right? I want y'all to remember something. Do you realize when you're reading in the book of Romans, I think it's chapter 9 and then chapter 11, where Paul says, brethren, and you hear this throughout the Bible. When you read it here, you know that Maccabees is talking about the people that are related to him, the people of his nation, right? Mm-hmm. I want y'all to understand that, because when Paul is saying it, he's saying the same thing. I want y'all to understand that, because when y'all are trying to teach somebody, y'all trying to tell people, hey, when Paul's saying, brethren, my heart's desire that Israel might be saved, he's talking about his own people. Okay? And I had to bring that out because a lot of people get confused. But we don't want our people to get confused when it comes to understanding what this Bible is saying. Because Maccabees ain't saying this here, and then Paul's saying it, and then, it means something completely different. No, it don't. He's on the same page as Maccabees. He's for his people. He's loving his people. I had to bring that out real quick to y'all. I want y'all to skip down to verse 41. Jump down to chapter 4, verse 41 of the book of 1 Maccabees. We're going to keep going. It says, then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So they having to clean the sanctuary up of all the mischief that these heathens done to our temple. Okay? And it says, so he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bore out the defiled stones unto an unclean place. Why would they have to bore out certain stones in the temple? Because they were making unclean sacrifices, sacrificing animals that God did not ordain us to be clean for consumption, right? Verse 44. And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profane, they thought it best to pull it out, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it. Therefore they pulled it out and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. Then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former. This is saying, this is showing you guys that we were not only very law keepers, we were very technical. We were architects too. We were people who made stuff, but everything was made according to what? The law. Everything was made, everything is done in decency and order here. Everything was made according to what the law, how the law said to do it. And it says, verse 48, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hallowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels, and unto the temple they brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offerings, and of incense, and the table. And upon the altar they burnt incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlesticks they lighted. What candlesticks are they talking about?
Menorah.
They're talking about the menorahs, because they already had the menorah. Remember in Exodus, that's when Moses had to make them, so they already had the menorah. Very good. That they might give light in the temples. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table and spread out the vials, and finished all the work which they had begun to make. Now, on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month of Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning, and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings, which they had made. So they restored the temple, they made everything new again, and they made sure that everything was cool, right? Maccabees, we're gonna keep moving, and we're gonna turn it 53, chapter 4, what was that? Verse 53?
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
52.
52?
Yeah.
No, 53, right?
Yeah, we got 53.
53?
Just got to read 53.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna go to we're gonna turn the page, and we're gonna jump to 55. Now watch this. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising Yahweh of heaven, who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings, and with gladness, and sacrificed the altar of deliverance and praise. How many days did they keep it, y'all?
8.
Verse 57. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields, and the gates of the chambers they renewed and hung doors upon them. Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the day of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month seclude, with mirth and gladness. So after they had this battle, y'all, they said, look, we're going to keep this for 8 days. We're going to make sure we do this year by year. It's going to be a holiday for us. So this is what they ordained. Now, some people will argue and say, well, it's not something that you have to keep. Some people will argue that, but I will argue that it's very important for us to continue to keep it. Because the reason why I'm saying is because once you read more, wars kept happening. They had a little bit of time of peace, but war, they still had turmoil, things kept happening. But it's important to remember this day, to remember how valiant our brothers fought, right? Watch this. Verse 60. At that time, also they built up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down, as they had done before. And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethshura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. Y'all see that? So now we are people that are in military mode. We're people, we had to form a garrison around it. We had to fortify the temple. We had to make sure we built the walls up because we knew that we was at war. Now I want to show you guys something real quick. We're not going to read the story in chapter 5, but I want to show you guys something. I want you to go to chapter 5, and I'm going to start at verse 1. And watch this. It says, now, I want y'all to see this. I'm going to see if y'all can see it before I do. It says, now when the nations round about heard that the altar was built and the sanctuary renewed as before, it displeased them very much. Stop. Why would every other nation, it says when the nations, that means everybody that lives around us, they heard that we restored our temple. Why would it displease every nation that we built up our temple? Why would it?
Oh, they wanted us to fall. They were all cahoots with each other.
They're all confederate against us. Mm-hmm. When the nations heard this, they're upset. When you read Psalms chapter 83, what does it say? It tells us that the nations are confederate against us. But watch this, verse 2. Wherefore they thought to destroy the generation of Jacob that was among them, and where thereupon they began to slay and destroy the people. Then Judas fought against the children of Esau in Idumea at Arabatine, because they besieged Israel, and he gave them a great overthrow, and abated their courage and took their spoils. Stop. Y'all see that? I got a question for you guys. What has changed from that time to now? You see, nothing has changed from the time that we read this to now. All the nations are still confederate against you guys. There's no change. That's why David wrote about it in Psalms 83, right?
I still get nervous when we do that.
That's why Christ talked about it. So y'all have to understand we are at war. Y'all have to understand there are things happening that you guys we don't fully get, because there's more of a mental warfare. We had captains, we had soldiers, we had officers then, and I get it. Certain things that we see with our people, we like, man, hold up, man, that's too much. But when you're at war, extreme measures are due for extreme circumstances, aren't they?
Mhm.
Sometimes we can't understand everything that's going on because we're struggling just to get back our identity, to just understand that we Israelites, y'all.
True.
So this is where we at. And this is why it's so important that we conduct ourselves in a certain way, that we come back to order, because we don't know any order concerning the lives that we lived beforehand, y'all.
Mhm.
But if y'all read this and y'all understand the story, this story is telling y'all about a people coming together, having order for themselves. And the reason why they were able to hold back the enemy for so long is because they worked together. You see that?
Mhm.
When we come together, y'all, we have to get our mindsets on doing all these things.
True.
When we come together, we have to make sure that we loving on each other, that we see each other as kings and queens. That's why when I came in today, I told my brother, I said, man, if I was acting so-and-so, man, forgive me. My brother was like, man, what you mean? You ain't did nothing. What you talking about? I want to be that guy to help spark the change for my people. I want to be that guy to try to show y'all that, look, we got to love on each other, man, because we don't know any other way. Our women got to get back in order, but they can't get back in order until what? We start getting back in order. And that's what this Feast of Dedication is all about. You see the constant understanding, you see the constant struggle of our people coming back what? Where we are here, right here. We're coming back to this law. And that's what I want to try to give to our people. And I want to do it in righteousness. Y'all see that?
Mhm.
So we getting there, y'all. We getting there. But that is the most of the story. We jump through the story. I implore all you guys to read chapter 3, 4, and 5 together. Read those chapters together. Okay? I'll just read them out because it's a lot that happened, y'all. It's a lot of things that happened within that time frame. And these things were just catastrophic. Like one thing happened, and then this thing happened, and this thing happened, and it was like a domino effect of it happening. You see? And so we have to try to remember these things and call to remembrance everything that we've seen, everything that we read in this Bible. Okay? And that's pretty much it. I got one more thing for y'all. We're done, but I got one more thing that the Most High is put the Spirit on me to give to you guys, and I'm gonna just try to be obedient. I want you guys to go to the book of Baruch. We're gonna read that, and that's gonna be it, okay? I want you to go to the book of Baruch, chapter 4, and I want to start at verse 4. Chapter 4 and verse 4, okay? And it reads, O Israel, happy are we, for things that are pleasing to Yahweh are made known unto us. Be of good cheer, my people. The memorial of Israel. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved Yahweh to wrath. Ye were delivered into the enemies, delivered unto the enemies, for ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils, and not to Yahweh. Ye have forgotten the everlasting Yahweh that brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you. For when she saw the wrath of Yahweh coming upon you, she said, Hearken, O ye that dwell about Zion. Yahweh has brought upon me great mourning. Stop right there. So it lets us know whenever we go away from him, that's why this fight happened. Whenever we go away from him, we're always delivered to the enemies because we sacrifice to what? To devils. Any other custom we take on, other than the customs that are in this book, we're going into sacrificing to devils. So that's why we go off. That's why we have the calamities we have. and I had to put y'all there. I had to give that to y'all. Most High had gave me to give that to y'all because we have to remember these things, y'all. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you guys understood the story. We didn't go into a lot of precepts today, but that's pretty much the class, and we're gonna have fun. This Feast of Dedication, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna kick it. I can't wait for us to get together again and just come together, sit down and eat, be glad, have gladness and mirth, because that's what was commanded of us. That's what we went through. That's what we went through. And that's what, you know, they said all the people got together and they had joy, they had mirth, it was kicking it, having fun. That's what we're gonna continue to do. And with that, I say shalom.
Shalom.
Your hands are cold.